Welcome to the Juice Radio Talk Show. 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 Reality TV's church reviews. Let's talk happy love and marriage lifestyle. Come and talk with us. Come and share with us. Come and laugh with us. Come on and pray with us.
Regina and Clovis, special guests. You should be following your lead. Bless. Subscribe on YouTube. Listen on podcasts. We live on IG and Facebook. This episode is sponsored by Truth and Triumph Ministries.
Hey everyone, and even good evening if you're just watching us on the playback. This is Executive Pastor Tawana Grant, and I welcome you today as you join us on the Juice Radio and Talk Show. We're so excited to get back into our Money Monday. So today is the day we want to encourage you to go ahead and like and share, encourage others to join us today online as we continue in our learning for our business owners, our entrepreneurs, even our ministry leaders, so that you can understand how to make your money work for you. I'm going to get to that stage where my money is working even while I'm sleeping, right? And so that is one of the things that we want to do, even in your business, that things are still operating and flowing. And so what we want to talk about is thinking about strategic moves for 2025 and beyond. So this is the new series that we are going into. It'll be probably about 7 that we'll talk about for this particular set of information. Again, strategic moves. So again, we're talking to those leaders, those who are called in spaces to engage and to lead vision and to lead purpose and to strategize with others so that you all together can produce a combined vision, right? So many hands make work light. I always say that. And so transformation happens from a team's perspective, but you have to have awareness and how to lead your team. So again, we want to encourage you. We're on the Juice Radio and Talk Show every Monday for Money Mondays. We've taken our break. How many know that rest is imperative? That whatever you do, that there's an opportunity where rest can refuel you, can renew you, and so you can have a new outset as you get ready to go into this new season. So I hope you all have leveraged the holidays, taking your own personal breaks, allowed your team to refresh and to renew, so that even as you go into this new year, that you're looking at strategic moves for 2025 and beyond. Because whatever you decide to do this year is going to influence next year and several years to come. And so we want you to have that type of visionary leader outlook so that whatever decisions you make it from a posture of understanding that what I do today impacts tomorrow. And so when you think that way, we won't be short-sighted in making our decisions. We won't be short-sighted in leading our teams. We won't be short-sighted in leading our ministries. You've got to always be thinking ahead where you're going next and then strategizing and planning to execute. The Bible says that faith without works is dead. So we want to encourage you that whatever you plan, you have to work your vision. Whatever the purpose is, it requires provision and it also requires hands put to work. And so this year, let's go to work. So we want to start off today with our first thought as we talk about strategic moves for 2025 and beyond. The very first one is looking at the economic landscape, right? Whatever is happening, what can I expect and how to prepare? How do I get my team ready? How do I get my own mind ready for what is coming ahead? And so hopefully you had an opportunity to read in the news to make sure we talked about even closing out the last series, get into some networks who dig deep into information and then can bring you back the summary, who can bring you back the cliff notes. If you don't have that type of time to invest, there's always wisdom and information made available to you, but we have to make use of it. Wisdom is information applied correctly. And so when we get information, wisdom is how to apply it correctly. And so we want to encourage you today. And in this year, we need to take the information we have and then learn how to apply it correctly. And so one of the things that we're talking about, the economic landscape, being able to understand what is happening in the economy today and how can that influence my business, whether it is currently inactive or whether you are ready as an entrepreneur to do a new startup, or whether you're in ministry and you're operating from that business perspective, what kind of administrative policies, what kind of judicial compliances are coming through that I need to make sure that we are aware of and that we adhere to. And so one of those, again, is the overview. We want to talk about new administration policies and their potential impacts to you. We want to talk about key factors, depending on where you operate in your lane, your business, your field. It could some green energy. It could be some changes to technology. Could be some changes to healthcare that could pivot you into another direction, require you to reassess, and then enable your team to go forward in a different and new way. So definitely strategic for navigating economic uncertainty. These are some of the key points that you want to consider. Even as we go into this new year, we're looking at trends. We're anticipating those policy changes. We're talking about how can they impact and influence us. Why? So that we can collaborate on our strategic plan to address them. We don't want to put our head in the sand and act like nothing has happened. That's not how you operate as a visionary leader. Some things are happening and you have to be able to accept it. You cannot fix what you do not face. And so you don't want it to happen to you. You want to be prepared so that you operate through it. And so we want to be key about that. So some of the things I just want to share today, we want to think about in economic growth. How is it expected to grow in the economy? And it's very positive. I know we're looking at the outlook, and some of us are around people who have a posture of uncertainty or risk adverse. So you may get influences from others who may say, I wouldn't do anything this year. I wouldn't do anything. But I want to encourage you today that our economy is expected to grow. Our US GDP is expected to grow by approximately 2.5% in 2025, surpassing previous consensus forecasts. So again, some of the indicators may have suggested that there would be a very small growth in this year, but the growth now that's being announced is a 2.5% increase. And so what does that mean to you as a business owner? That means growth suggests a favorable environment for businesses and expansion. So if you're looking at expanding, if you're looking at starting off, if you're looking at going to something new, it looks favorable. And so what you want to do is start preparing now. We already talked about how do we plan for a contingency plan, but sometimes we put so much attention into what could be negative that we don't think to take advantage of what's going to be positive. And so we want to encourage you that you operate from a posture that the indicators are showing a very positive growth for 2025. And so as a business owner, how do I take advantage of that? How do I now assume the information that is being given to us and then take my business forward? So with that, you want to look at consumer spending is likely to increase. That's what the indicators are saying. So if you're in a service that is providing a product or a service, then there's an opportunity for you to dig deeper into your service and product for the potential of increased spending. And so where we thought there might be a tremendous slowdown, the indicators are now showing that there will be an increase in consumer spending, benefiting both the businesses and ministries through higher engagement and through donations. So people are now where we thought it would be a major significant shift. There seems to be indicators that are showing that there's going to be a positive draw to our economic push. And so there's going to be a growth expected of 2.5%. And so we're encouraging you to take advantage of that. Take advantage. Look and see, what do you need to do? Some of us are expanding in ministry or expanding in our business. And so now is the time to consider those things as we look at the economy still remaining in the positive. So now take advantage of it. Welcome today. Glad to have you with us, Robert Jennings. Glad to have you with us, Sean Talks. So glad to have you with us. Also, I think I saw, who else was on that? Oh, Pastor Evans, God bless you. Glad to have you with us. So thank you for joining. Make sure you like and share. And so again, there is a positive projection for growth in 2025. We also want to talk about inflation and monetary policies, right? So with the inflation rates, while inflation has been decreasing, it does remain a core concern, right, about inflation. It's projected to stay above 2.5 for most of 2025. So it's projected to stay where it is, right, for most of 2025. What does this mean? Persistent inflations can lead to increased operational costs, meaning for your business. While we are saying it's favorable, you have more sales. Why it's favorable? You have more donations. Why it's favorable? Consumer spending will stay at a higher level. There's also some supplemental costs relative to running operations to running your business, so that you might want to consider with that as you look at your budget, because it's going to affect your budget and your financial planning for the year. So even as you think about what is the projections of 2025, while consumer spending is going to increase, also our inflation and our monetary policies are going to stay stagnant or stay at a higher level, increased level. And so therefore there will be supplemental expected increases in operation costs. And so you want to think about that as you look at it. So don't take it once the Lord blesses and the floodgates start to happen and you're seeing more sales, you're seeing more growth. Don't be forget about the fact that you will have also a supplemental increase likely in cost when you have to procure equipment, when you have to procure resources, when you have to procure certain services that are normal to your business, normal to your operation. It is likely that those associated costs will increase. So while we're getting in income, let's remember that there's also an attributed expense to that you need to consider. So in our planning, we also want to plan to be judicious in how we spend, because things are subject to change and increase in that area. Including my point number 3. So we talked about, again, the expected economic growth projections are looking favorable. These point number 2, inflation and money policies are looking to stay right near the same, right? An increase in the core inflation is expected to stay near the same or slight increase before the end of the year. So watch your budget and ensure that you're planning, ensure that you're monitoring. What we always say from Dr. Walker is you cannot expect what you don't inspect. So make sure you are watching your dollars, watching your bottom line. Now, there are some spends you have to spend. There are some things that you have to spend on that is good money spent. You have to evaluate that. What is the priority so that you don't negate the things that are necessary? Maintenance on primary equipment is necessary. I know sometimes we like to throw that to the back. Oh, I'll wait on that. The lights are blinking. The signs are showing wear and tear. But that is a main function of your business, your operation. You got to make sure you take care of it. Because when it is unavailable, you're out of business. You're delayed or you incur a much more significant cost. So we want to make sure that you are being aware of those operational costs that could increase in the new year. Point number 3, labor market dynamics. The U.S. continues to experience labor shortages. Oh my goodness, we were just talking about that earlier. There is a labor shortage just about in every industry. We're having difficulty. Approximately 1.7 million fewer individuals in the workforce compared to pre-pandemic levels. So we have a significant number of reduced labor force. And so what does that mean? If your operation requires a specialty, if that your operation requires a certain level of capability, a certain level of due diligence, a certain level of education, a certain level of knowledge, then you have to, the potential impacts to you is that recruitment and retention is imperative. You might be challenged in those areas too, because where there is a shortage of resources, that means people are in high demand. And so you as a visionary leader, you got to make sure you're mindful of how you treat your personnel. How do you treat your team? How do you operate with them? How do you give them opportunity to grow and expand? Because opportunity will be made available. Again, when you have a shortage of employees, there are a lot of options made available. And so we want to consider that because you might have recruitment or retention challenges necessitating competitive compensation. That's what I'm saying. You might have to have some competitive rates. You might have to have some competitive benefits, as well as investing in your employees' development. We said this before. You have to grow your team, not by expansion of numbers, but by their capability and their gifts and talents. When we pour into our teams, we advance them as well as the organization, because what they're learning, they're now tooling themselves in a new way, in a new capacity to add even more value. So don't think about it as I'm training them and they might leave with it. Well, let's be honest, they might. But the point is, if we train them and tool them, we've shown them that we are willing to invest and that they are worth our time. They are worth our financial investment, and that we see them as a value and as an asset to our organization. And so people don't normally leave jobs where they are fit, where they feel value and they are shown that they are valuable. and we show value through compensation, through benefits, and through our investment in them. So again, it is expected that the labor market dynamics will continue to shift. And we've seen this already. We were talking about earlier, when we go to restaurants, when we go to certain organizations or businesses, they have a shortage of employees. They don't have a lot of people working. You may even experience that right now in your organization. There is a lack of people who are readily available, readily skilled, and willing to participate in the process. So you have to be very key and critical, again, about how you entertain your team and how you invest in your organization and the members that bring and help you push forward your vision. You can't do it alone. We said it before. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you got to go with a team. And so you want the team to go with you. So you got to always be working to improve the dynamics of the team, to make sure that people have a voice and that they feel valuable. Because again, there is a projection that recruitment and retention will continue to be a challenge in 2025 and beyond. So we want to level set our minds and prepare for that. And that is a good thing to do, because sometimes we might think that people don't have options. Well, I am encouraging you today to recognize that people have an option and they don't have to stay. Give them a reason to want to commit. Give them a reason to want to get sticky with your organization and want to be a loyal employee. So point number 4, we're moving on. Point number 4 is policy changes under the new administration. So certainly we already expect and we already know that there will be some policy changes that are coming in this new year, 2025 and beyond, right? We have a new administration coming in. We have others even in our lower governmental offices that are coming in and have been placed in positions. And so we recognize that there are going to be changes. But you as a business owner, entrepreneur, ministry leader, we have to be aware that there will be some policy changes. And so there are, of course, opportunities for potential changes to our tax reform, right? So they could affect some of our deductions that we have. They could impact and influence our corporate tax rates, the amounts that we've been paying taxes for your corporation, and then regulatory and regulations concerning tax exemptions. So where some of us are nonprofits, that can be influenced and impacted. So what we want to do is make sure that we are recognizing that. So what does that mean? That means businesses and ministries may need to reassess financial strategies to maintain your tax credit and your tax efficiency and your compliance. This is the time right now to make sure that you're going back through your books. As we get ready to do year-end taxes, as you get ready to make sure you're working with your tax accountant, your auditor, making sure that everything is in order, because there will potentially be some shifts and changes. And so you want to make sure that you're prepared for those and you're ready to have the conversation. Again, there's some areas that you cannot influence. You can't stop it from happening. But what you can do is prepare for it. You can be ready so that when they ask, they were just asking people have to fill out the BOI here in Georgia, so that business who have been open submit in specific information, and so that they are aware of your business organization and what it does. And so you will see that there's additional information that will be happening throughout this year and beyond that will require you to make sure that you have compliancy, to make sure that your strategic and financial plans are in place so that you know how to respond. You know what they always used to say, get ready and stay ready, so that when something comes up, you don't have to get ready. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready, okay? And so now is our opportunity to make sure if we're not ready, get ready, so that as things start to happen in 2025 and beyond, we're able to respond. So some of those impacts could be, again, that we might be shifted in our aspects of our regulations. Some of the employee tax laws may shift and change. So you got to be ready to address some of those. There's aspects of our operations and our compliance could be changing, and they'll be sending that information out, and we have to be ready to respond. And we have to help. So I want to say this because this is so important. We need to do so timely. Because where we have worked in other spaces, right, we had COVID where we could say we're late, or we had other things going on where we were permitted and given a lot of latitude, was submitting things late and also responding late. I want to say you're in the new year now. And so where we may have had that posture, you've got to change that. Oh, yes. We've got to show up ready. And so I want to encourage you, you choose how you show up. So we've got to show up ready for our business. We got to show up ready for our teams. We've got to show up ready for our customers and our clients. We've got to show up ready for our fellowship and our ministry. So that why? Because we want to operate in excellence. And so where you may have been more slower to engage, slower to react, slower to respond, this is not the year. This is our year where we're going to go from waiting to winning. If we want to win, we've got to be engaged and we've got to be active. We've got to be forward thinking. Don't be reactive, be proactive. We're going to get out of that posture this year. I'm just enjoying God. Yes. And so because we're enjoying what we do, I hope you enjoy your business. I hope you enjoy your ministry. I hope you enjoy your calling so that it brings you joy and it brings you peace, even when things are not as well as you would like them to be. That's where your passion kicks in. Your passion helps you retain your mobility, your synergy, and your zeal, even when you have to go through the complex portions of the process. There's a process in everything we do. And sometimes, I'll be honest, there are places in my life, even right now, it's taking longer than I initially planned. It's taking longer than I thought. It's taking longer for the page to turn than when I set out in the race in certain spaces. But you know what? I'm going to keep on reading. I'm going to keep on showing up. I'm going to keep on doing what I committed to do. I'm going to keep on making progress. That's it. Sometimes you don't get all the way to the end of the goal, but you got to keep on making progress because that's what iterative progress leads to is success. You don't get the success always overnight. Sometimes we do. Sometimes God blesses us with a miraculous blessing that just fall into our hands. But then there's sometimes when he says you're going to have to walk by faith and not by sight. There's times when you're going to have to press in. And so even with the new administration, even with the new things that are going to be coming up, we don't always know them. But I want to encourage you today that know that you're operating in purpose, that you're operating in intention. And so when you give it your all, everything that God has committed to you, he gets in and he works it with you. He helps you to do what you need to do. And so some of those potential impacts would be organizations. You need to stay informed. You need to stay adapt to regulatory changes and ensure that we remain compliant and that we maintain operational efficiency. That's what I'm saying. If you keep things running well now, when the compliance and regulatory change or taxes change, we're in a better position to handle them. It's easier to make a shift when you're already on the right road. It's easier to pivot. It's hard when you have to start from a standstill. Don't be still this year. Be mobilized. Be engaged. Operate in faith so that you can move your industry and your ministry, your business forward. Well, some of the other things we'll see this year. Point number 5, technology advancements. So again, digital transformation is happening everywhere. And we've had several sessions where we talked about don't get left behind. Pay attention to work smarter, not harder. So look at some of the things, right? Because there's going to be an increasing integration of AI, artificial intelligence. There is going to be an increasing integration of AI, artificial intelligence, and automation is reshaping industries, necessitating upskilling and adaptation. So that's why I want to encourage you. You've got to upskill your people. You've got to upskill yourself. I always say I hire to my weakness, not my strength. I don't need anybody to know how to do what I do. I need people to know how to do what I don't know how to do, and to help make sure that they're also those eye gates and they can watch and monitor and they have a different lens than me. Some of the difficulty, especially in ministry, we want everybody to think the way we think. But that's not in your best interest. Can I share that today? It is not in your best interest to have a ministry or a team where everybody says yes. No, you're going to miss all your blind spots. You're going to miss everything, Lord have mercy, that could come up that you didn't think about. Because everybody has that same mind thinking like you. But you've got to be willing to listen to others who might have a different opinion because they're trying to protect you. Sometimes we're thinking people are our adversary and they're really your advocate. Write that down. I want to encourage you. Sometimes we're feeling like people are our adversary and they're really your advocate because they're helping you to see things that you can't see or don't want to. May I say that today? May I present that to you today? Sometimes we don't want to see it because it causes us to have to do some things we don't want to do. But I'm encouraging you this year, 2025, as things are shifting, take advantage of technology advancement, upskilling your people. And why pay them to upskill and don't listen to them? Why pay for them to get a capability or a new understanding and then don't take the wisdom that they've learned? I'm not saying implement everything that people bring you, but what I'm saying, consider that it might be something to help you. Consider that it might be something to strengthen you. Consider that it might be something that down the line that could protect you. That's why I'm encouraging you. We want to be visionary thinkers, visionary leaders, so that while it might not be today, what is coming in doesn't always mean it's useful for today, but it might be something that you can use when when the situation arises, when the time is right, when things happen that you didn't plan on. You have something in your toolbox that you already heard, that you already meditated on, that you've already considered. The time wasn't right then, but now is the time. Now you do the new thing. Now you spring forth. Now you walk out. Now you say, okay, I see why I went through what I went through. I can't tell you how many times I've had those occasions in my life. I said, now I see. Now I see why it had to happen the way it had to happen. Because now I see things unfold. And so you have to have that ability to also allow others to operate in lanes. As technology improves, you improve. As technology is coming about and things are now available to you, don't close off and say, well, this is the way I always been doing it. No. If it isn't aligned to the vision and the mission, you can change the method. I love that. Bishop Morton would say that. Marry the mission, date the method. And so long as the method doesn't take you outside of the purpose, outside of the brand image, because again, sometimes it can be on purpose, but it don't match your brand. Lord, thank you for that. Sometimes if it don't match your brand, if it don't match what God has told you to show forth, if it don't match, then still don't do it. Because it can still be a good thing, but if it don't match purpose, mission, and the brand, what you're trying to show forth, what you're trying to put forth, then don't do it. But consider it. Take the information in and allow people to add value in spaces where we haven't always done so this year. Allow them to add value. All right. So what we want to do, we want to embrace technology advancement. We want to embrace it. I know for some of us it's hard because we can do it faster and easier the old way, but it's going to take some effort. But if you do the initial effort, it'll be easy down the road. How many know that? Sometimes it's hard up front. It's hard up front. That's why I say when you find people that work with you, when you in the grunt work, when you in the building work, when you in the work where you are working hard and giving lots of hours, time, effort, money, and those are the people that were with you when you didn't have nothing. Be careful about everybody that show up when it's easy now. Lord have mercy. Because everybody can show up in your organization while it's easy. Don't forget the people who helped you get where you are today. Don't forget. Don't forget. Leader, visionary, ministry leader. Don't forget. But because those are the pillars that help you get where you are. God used them, but don't forget them. Hallelujah. So some of the things for a technology advancement is, again, you want to make sure that you use them for operational efficiency. Use them. Work smarter, not harder this year. Do it for outreach capabilities. Again, we just introduced some technology, thank you, Lord, in our ministry that we're using now to take away some of the human effort, the human work, and letting technology work for us. It's doing the exact same thing. Smarter, not harder. Allow it to work and function on behalf of the mission and the vision, and the effort still gets done. So this is both for businesses and ministries. Look for efficiencies to involve technology to operate on your behalf. And then my last point for today is global trade dynamics. What's happening globally? Because some of you may be in trade industries where you are receiving products offshore and sending offshore. You have workers who are working for you. I do. People who work for me that are offshore in other lanes and spaces that I operate in. And so you got to think about that. For trade policies, it's projected, there will be an ongoing trade tension and policy shifts that may influence global supply chains and market access. So again, you need to prepare for that. We talked about that in a prior session. You need to look, is there a way to source locally, source in the States? Because if they shut down and they're not able to get you your product, how can you still function? This is part of your engagement as a visionary with your team. How can I still function if all my stuff is coming offshore? And again, this is not to do away, but we always talk about diversifying. You don't want to be 100% in anything. If you can help it, don't put all your, that's the old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Even in scripture, talks about diversifying, putting in different things because you don't know which way one will go or another. So you got to be able to make sure you diversify, and that is specifically for anybody working with global and offshoring, right? Because you want to make sure that you're going to get your products in or the services you need from others. And so how does this potentially impact you? Businesses involved in international trade, you've got to monitor for developments. You got to mitigate your risk. That's what I'm talking about, mitigating risk by diversifying. Get some of the products now from somewhere else locally or within the States, to start removing that high offshore, right? To remove it so that you mitigate your risk, you bring it down so that if you lose all of this, I'm not totally out of business. I can still operate and I can start to slowly increase my production onshore. You've got to think that way. You got to be strategic. You got to have your mindset ahead. And so I want to encourage you today that even as we think about 2025 and the years ahead, we're going to make some strategic moves. And so today's conversation, we were talking about the economic landscape for 2025, what to expect, how to prepare. We are just getting started. So this is Executive Pastor Tawana Grant. I want to encourage you to join us every Monday on Monday. We are back from vacation. We are rested and we are ready to grow. And so we encourage you to join us every Monday at noon for your lunchtime learning. Peace and blessings to you on today.